podcast sometime.
Yeah,
Just
I
like
don't think we're gonna do. We are live now. Welcome to Back of the Bullpen podcast, season two,
there's no
episode 8.
no.
I This is the thing I like about, like, I don't do a countdown. I just say we're gonna go live, and I hit a button, and I
Yeah,
don't. I don't. Do you have anything? Oh, there must be. Like, don't you have a little down, kind of bottom middle, slightly to the right, a thing that says live?
yeah. There's something that says live, but I'm not looking at it. I'm
Yeah,
looking at
you're not looking at it, and so it's just like it happens or it doesn't happen.
yeah. And
Um,
you're like, we're gonna go live, and I'm just like blah 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 blah. Not
Yeah, and
listening.
and as long as it starts right with you saying 8-hour podcast, then that's like basically the ultimate goal here. Um,
So we are gonna do an 8-hour podcast. That's my understanding, right?
yeah,
Um,
this podcast itself is going to be an 8-hour podcast.
Hours. I think the
Very
first hour is
exciting.
gonna be us talking, and the next 7 hours are just gonna be you leaving it on. We both just go about our lives.
That'll I don't know how well that's gonna go. Well, I don't know how well any of this is gonna go over. Um,
Badly.
Ever.
Yeah.
So we want to talk some Royals because we have not. Well, I mean that all that bullshit happened. This was it this week? No, it couldn't
Yeah.
have been this week because I was in. I watched. I went to Anaheim earlier this week and watched the A's play the Angels. So it happened over the weekend, I think.
Well, but it depends on which bullshit you're talking about because there's been like three
Oh well,
bullshit.
there's the other bullshit. Yeah, there's the sort of the A's bullshit, and then there's the White Sox apparently defending the A's honor, I guess.
Yep.
And so yeah, there's a whole lot of Royals bullshit that we have not that has happened since we last podcasted, which was a few weeks ago. And then there's today the big Josh Hamilton trade, which is interesting, big,
Yes.
big, but also simultaneously small, depending on how you look at it. So, but I guess we can start with the sort of the hot take topic. Well, they're both we're certainly capable of hot takes on either of them. But in case you've been under a rock, have you been under a rock, Matt?
It's very, very small, more of a pebble, really.
Okay, so you could see around it.
I could see around it. Yeah, it wasn't that heavy.
So what happened with the Royals? Brett Lawrie, who doesn't play for the Royals, does a takeout slide at second base on a play where he probably should not have done a takeout slide. It was like a ground ball up the middle, deflected off the pitcher's foot. Shortstop or third baseman, actually, I think Moustakas winds up making the play on it. Throws to second. Alcides Escobar, shortstop, is covering the bag, even though it's on the left side, I think because of a shift, and is not going to have a play at first because of the deflection, and he's sort of stretching more like a first baseman than a second baseman to get the out at second. Lawrie goes in with the foot a little bit more elevated than it should have been. The spikes a little higher than they should have been. A late slide, right into Escobar's leg. He gets hurt. Not badly, as it turns out, just a mild strain. He missed a couple of games. That's it. Although for Escobar, that's a big deal because he played all 162 last year, I think. So people get pissed on the Royals. There's a lot of yelling and booing and whatever. Lawrie says that he texts an apology. Escobar says he never got it. Lawrie says he got a reply in Spanish telling him that it was bullshit. Escobar said, I don't know who sent that reply because that's not my number. Lawrie says, I got your number from Eric Hosmer. I don't know what Eric Hosmer says about that. So that's all weird. That's all very strange. But next game, is it Yordano Ventura at this point? I think it might be. Hits Lawrie in the elbow.
I think it was all Yordano Ventura.
Yeah. Yeah, so Ventura on Saturday now hits Lawrie in the elbow. Kind of expected. It's essentially what everybody knew was going to happen. Lawrie just takes his base, basically, but Ventura goes toward Lawrie because Ventura is a crazy head, and he just is walking toward Lawrie and jawing at him and yelling at him, and normally, right, Lawrie does the bad slide. Pitcher protects his shortstop by hitting Lawrie. It's dumb, but that's what happened. There doesn't have to be any talking. So instead, Ventura winds up out of the game, I think. And Lawrie's on first base, who basically never said a word.
Right. My understanding is through his first I think it was through his first 4 games, he didn't get taken out by a manager. Like
Ventura?
yeah.
Oh wow.
I'm trying to find the game log. I heard someone say that.
That might be. I mean, he definitely got. Well, and we'll get to the next event, the next event. Um, but so that's it for that game. Sunday, Scott Kazmir in the first inning hits Lorenzo Cain in the foot.
With like a changeup or something.
It was a fastball, but it
fastball?
was, the catcher was setting a target low and in. I heard some people say like that's why it's called a back foot slider. I'm pretty sure it was fast but
Yeah,
it was attempted to go low and in, and likely pulled it, and slightly late on the release, and got Cain in the foot. It looked kind of bad because Cain saw it coming, tried to jump over it actually, and got clocked in the foot and kind of tumbled. He's fine. Did not appear to have like words or anything. Nothing seemed to happen out of this. I don't. Or maybe no, that's not true. That's not true. Yost and Dave Island were both ejected. Like basically because the umpire didn't throw Kazmir out of the game, right. I think, and they were super mad about that. They wanted Kazmir to get thrown out for hitting Cain in the foot. Have you seen video of the play?
No.
Okay.
I've read it. I've not.
Yeah, because basically like A's fans say, that was, look, he hit him in the foot. That's not intentional. Like, it was a hit by pitch in the first inning. He's not going to risk getting thrown out, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Royals fans say Kazmir did some bullshit. There's also Josh Reddick, I think the night before, saying something like, you never know when retaliation might be coming, or something weird like that. We hope it doesn't continue. Something odd and really not something that he should have said, but also not like a threat really. But anyway, Kazmir Cain in the foot. Kelvin Herrera then in like the 7th or the 8th inning throws one well in on Laurie, which I actually didn't think was intentional until the next pitch went a foot behind Laurie at about like a little below shoulder level, like maybe say like the top of the shoulder, drop down like 3 inches or something, like upper back basically. And it what's that?
He was trying to hit him at that point.
Yeah, he might have actually been trying to go behind him. Sometimes the message pitch is intentionally behind the guy if there's nobody on base. And so that winds up behind him. Herrera's out of the game at this point. Laurie didn't get hit, so he's just got to stay at the plate. He can't even take his base. But then Herrera, being escorted off the field, points at his head, and he's shouting. And so then it's like, he's saying he's going to hit you in the head. And then, Herrera says, no, what I said was think about it. And then kind of changed that tune the next day, and it made it more like in between a threat and like think about it. It was all very unclear. And then so that's the A's. That's just like the beef with the A's. And I don't know if they have any. I don't think they have prior beef. Billy Butler is like a double agent. Billy Butler's on both teams.
Yeah.
And they played in the playoffs last year, but it was a close, good game. It wasn't a fighty game, as a 1-game playoff should not be fighty. But then the Royals, who were Donovan Ventura again last night. What did he do? Oh, he got a ground ball right back to him from Adam Eaton, the new Adam Eaton, the current Adam Eaton, not the old Adam Eaton, the pitcher. Remember Adam Eaton, the pitcher?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Yeah. And it's a weird thing that we've got a new Adam Eaton and he's better.
Yeah. This is the good Adam Eaton.
Yeah, this is the good Adam Eaton. I mean, the other Adam Eaton was good too, but then it's like he got hurt and whatever. So this Adam Eaton hits a ground ball back to Ventura. Ventura grabs it, and instead of just throwing to the base or like doing that pitcher thing where you jog halfway and then underhand it because you'd spend all day pitching, you can't make a 60-foot throw to first base. He like holds onto the ball and kind of moves toward Eaton a little bit and like is saying all kinds of stuff, and it's really not clear why. I don't yet know why. But either way, it was it was, I mean, you remember when Al Albuquerque on the Tigers did that thing where, what did he do? He like bit the ball or something and then threw it to first. Um, I don't remember exactly what he did, but he basically showed up the batter. This was like that times about 47. And Ventura just like yelling at him. So then it starts a thing. The benches come out. But unlike the A's Royals thing, the benches came out twice, maybe three times during those games, and it was all just like talking and yelling and pointing. There were punches thrown. Some people fell down. There were scrums, and there were mini scrums, and there were bigger scrums, and I think a manager wound up like at the bottom of a pile at one point. Jeff Samardzija wound up sort of mashing some dude's head into the ground and got a punch thrown at him that just completely whiffed. I think Volquez tried to punch him and missed him by about a foot. And then there was a report that I think it was Samardzija, not Sale, but it might have been Sale. I think it was Samardzija. Anyway, Samardzija's the crazy one. Went looking for Yordano Ventura after both had been ejected. Yes, buddy. My cat just like tapped me on the arm. I think he wants me to talk quieter. And so like goes like in the tunnels of the stadium or whatever, trying to find the Royals clubhouse to go fight Yordano Ventura.
Or the whole team. Like maybe it's just gonna like it was gonna be like a video game. Like a video game where you gotta like
fight progressively. Luckily, only one ever comes at you at a time.
Exactly. Like choo choo choo, done with that guy. Okay, next guy. Ching ching choo. Next guy. Anyway, I don't know what those noises were. But yeah.
But and then when asked about it today, refused to confirm or deny, and instead said that's in the past.
Which is literally true.
Yeah, it is. It was in the past, unless it didn't happen, in which case it's not in the past, because that's the definition of the past.
That's true. Yeah, I mean, if it didn't happen. Yeah, that's very true. That's good, Jason.
This is metaphysical, man.
Admission, what that is, right?
That is exactly. I'm sure Samardzija was thinking of those very issues.
There's a GIF that I've been watching here for a while that is up on Deadspin or was up on Deadspin. There's a bunch of Royals and White Sox just standing around the field, and then it's like Jeff Samardzija is like, hey, fuck you, buddy. And he just like starts charging at Royals guys, people over, and then basically trips over a guy that he knocked over. And then it looks like Edinson Volquez like takes a swing at him and misses by so much.
Yeah.
Ends up doing like a little spin and basically like Bugs Bunnying himself into the ground.
Right. Yeah, it's like everyone. I'm trying to think of who. Oh, Adrian Beltre. Adrian Beltre always swings like that, like at the ball. But that's a ball going 90 miles an hour with movement.
Yeah.
This is Samardzija.
It's also smaller. Yeah. Jeff Samardzija is pretty big. Like if you're, you probably hit him. I mean, it might not hurt him, but especially compared to a baseball. But then I guess Edinson Volquez doesn't have particularly great control. So there is that. That was an Edinson Volquez control joke that I just made.
Yes, it was. This was. Well, the problem is the puns would be like, whoa, what's his whiffs per 9?
Right.
But
so let me ask you then, Jason, since we just narrated this whole thing.
Yeah, so I think that's all the facts, right? Yeah, that's basically all the facts.
More or less, yeah. I mean, are the Royals just a bunch of jerks? I mean, everybody liked them a lot last year. People, were rooting for them during the playoffs to an extent that I'm not sure I'd seen since maybe people were rooting for the Red Sox in 2004 or the Cubs in 2003, back when people liked that team and felt bad for them and wished them to have some success so their poor fans would stop whining and crying at every little thing that happened. And then, of course, the Royals didn't win. They lost the World Series. But now it's like, based on this behavior, you're kind of like, good, fuck those guys.
Yeah, I mean, I'm biased, right? So here's the problem is that like I watched Royals fans for like the last week, sort of argue that Josh Reddick's media statements and Kazmir hitting Kane in the foot, reignited stuff that was already put to bed, which it to me felt like Homerish, right? Like, no, if you saw another team doing this, you wouldn't defend it. But on the other hand, my team, the one that I root for, is the quote unquote victim. So I'm sort of out here playing the victim. So it's hard for me to. So of course, right now I hate the Royals. Kelvin Herrera threw a 99-mile-an-hour fastball, not super far from Brett Laurie's head. Didn't go over his head. He didn't have to duck to save his life or whatever. But it was closer than I think any baseball player would probably feel comfortable with, particularly then with the point at the head. And so I'm not real big fans right now I'm not a real big fan of that team. I'm not a real big fan of Ned Yost. Yost had a good quote. I don't remember after which game, after one of the games, where it seemed like he was, trying to keep it chill and trying to be like, okay, it's over. It's like, we're good. It's done. But then when he gets thrown out, trying to get Kazmir thrown out, for hitting his player in the foot, I was like, I don't know. Now you're out here like fighting stupid battles, and I wonder if he doesn't come out yelling and screaming about that. Like, did the whole dugout think that Kazmir did that on purpose, or was it like, well, the manager thinks it was, so the 15 of us who were on the fence, I guess he did do it on purpose. And there's 10 guys who already thought that. I don't know. So I don't know if that affected things, if those ejections escalated things in a way that they wouldn't have. So yeah, but one way or another, whether Yost is egging this on or just not putting a lid on it, he's the guy who theoretically has the power to tell players to knock off the bullshit.
Right.
Realistically, maybe he doesn't have that power. Realistically, I don't know that there's a manager in the game who, could get through to a group of pitchers who are convinced that, their buddy got thrown at or whatever and want to do something about it. Because that's baseball, right? And it's been baseball for 100 years plus old Haas's time. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see, I guess, right? What do the Royals do going forward? Because it's one thing to have beef with a team. It's another thing to have someone like Yordano Ventura losing his mind every time he pitches. And now pretty soon they're going to have beef with every team, because there's definitely beef with the White Sox at this point. When you're pissing people off to the point where there's like they're down in the tunnels hunting for you, that's not normal baseball beef. That's like you remember when the Dodgers and I don't remember who it was, and the Diamondbacks, they're like somebody caught cell phone video of them yelling at each other, like Matt Kemp and somebody yelling at each other in the parking garage or whatever. Yeah. So that's unusual, I feel like. Or at least we don't hear about it very often. But when it carries off the field into legitimate, it's like on the field nobody ever presses charges, but like off the field somebody's going to get punched and somebody's going to get arrested. Like it's gonna be a fight at a nightclub or something. So somebody, I hope somebody sort of figures out how to get through to somebody and say you got to stop antagonizing them. Like channel it in a positive direction. Maybe I don't know if that's possible.
Well, let me ask you a broader question then, if I may.
You may not.
Oh, please.
Okay, you convinced me.
That's how I convince everybody. I just say, please. It's really horrible to have me in an office with you. So you mentioned, 100 years or whatever of this. And I was gonna ask you, is this bad for baseball? It's a little ridiculous, grown men running around trying to punch each other. But then it sort of occurred to me, and we were talking about it. I just Googled it, and there's like 177,000 different whatever Google results there are on this thing alone. People are clearly interested in this. This gets media coverage. This gets attention from both fan bases. This gets attention from fan bases of teams that aren't even involved. I mean, maybe this is really good for baseball in some sort of limited amount. Obviously, if it's happening every game, it's probably bad for baseball. There's a line where you shouldn't cross it. But, here and there, is this kind of activity actually good for baseball?
Yeah, I mean, I'd love to be able to say no. Like, I'd love to be able to say that, like, people are annoyed, so annoyed at this possibility that they'd stay home. But have you ever heard it's like the I didn't like that article, I'm canceling my subscription. Like, I don't like the way baseball is going, I'm canceling my season tickets. Have you ever heard someone say, I don't like all the beanballs, I'm canceling my season tickets?
Yeah,
like,
nobody says that.
Nobody's ever said that. And I think you might be right that, well, no, I'm certain that you're right that there is a line over which people would say this is too much. I mean, even hockey went through this, right? Like, didn't they impose some kind of restrictions to push the fighting a little more to a little more of a reasonable level? Like, they're still fighting. They've decided it's just going to be part of the game for some reason. But was there some rule change like 5 years ago to try to get a lid on it a little bit?
Yeah, they've done a bunch of different stuff over time. It used to be you could jump over the boards and get into a fight, and you can't do that. You get suspended for that immediately. I think that rule's been in place for a while. They have
basically, like, if you're already on the ice, it's different from if you're on the bench.
Yeah, somehow if you're on the ice, that gives you the right to punch someone in the face or get punched in the face. With only
it's the same rule in the NBA for what it's worth. They were having a lot of fight issues, and it was after like the whole thing in Detroit where it spilled into the stand, not spilled into it, ran into the stands.
Yeah.
But yeah, like if you're on the bench and you take even put a toe over the line onto the court, automatic suspension.
Yeah, I think we've talked about this before, like a year or two ago. And I recall advocating for some semblance of the same rule in baseball where at least it makes sense that, you wouldn't have exactly that rule in baseball because otherwise you're looking at, 9-on-1 or 9-on-2. It gets to be a pretty.
You'd only charge them out if someone threw at you with the bases loaded, because then you'd have at least a fair fight until the outfielders got there.
Exactly. But I think you could at least say, well, there's no real reason both bullpens should be allowed to come running into them. I mean, that's just silly. Like, if you come in from the bullpen, 10-game suspension, I don't know, whatever it is, and that would just cut it off right there, and everyone in the bullpen can just sit there and look over the wall like all the fans do and not get into any additional fracas. But in any case, now I forgot what my whole point was. Stupid beer. Oh, well. So you were saying about the about my point about I totally lost everything. Gosh.
No, yeah, well, like, yeah, is this like an optimal amount? I mean, yeah, if you impose like nobody from what?
I remember. We were talking about hockey. There's an instigator penalty now. So if you go up to somebody and start pushing them and try to get them into a fight, it's supposed to be an extra penalty on you. So you're setting the other team up to get a power play. Anyway, that's that's
interesting. I mean, it's like what was the hockey Nintendo game, Blades of Steel, right? And like the way that they did it is if you bumped a guy 3 times, he would start a fight with you.
Right.
And then if you won that fight, he went to the penalty box and you got to stay on the ice. So you would, that was like their way to, because otherwise there's no stakes in the fight.
Right.
So you'd never have fights. And they wanted fights, and it was kind of a genius thing. But so like the 3 bumps is like, that's the instigator penalty.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah. Yeah, if you're trying to start some shit, then I guess the idea is, fighting is theoretically okay, and punishment will be doled out evenly as long as the dispute arises organically within the game situation. But
the organic hockey fights are a well-known phenomenon, certainly.
Well, that's the thing, is almost all hockey fights aren't organic, so they're
right.
Yeah. which I guess was your point.
Um,
But anyway, so
but yeah, so like you could eliminate fights by having a rule that you can't leave the bench or the bullpen,
right.
because then no batter would in their right mind would ever do a fight.
Mhm.
But what that would probably do is lead to even more hit by pitches, because now that's your only way to get someone is if someone hits you, you have to hit them.
Right.
There's never a possibility the batter's going to come running out. So now pitchers don't have any kind of like, you know, this guy's going to come after me. And, you find the 5 videos on YouTube of like the times when the batter comes running out, and the pitcher just runs the other direction, like out into center field. So at least some pitchers are scared of batters coming out after them. So
Yeah,
maybe if you might just get these like endless beanball wars. And you never get that kind of cathartic, like, everybody charges and punches for a while and then there's some suspensions and that's the end of it, because what more can you do besides charging and punching? Like, that's got to be the end of it. You might, yeah, it's sort of all the hitting, all the beanballs might continue. And I don't know if that's, I don't know, but I don't know if even that would, like, if you increase beanballs, like intentional beanballs, by like 50%, would that cause, but eliminate, but zero fights ever? That probably wouldn't like bother people. It's not like people would be like, man, there's just too many beanballs, because you're still talking like, how often is this happening? At most once a week, across all of baseball, not per team. It just doesn't happen all that often.
and it seems to me that people are more likely to get hurt by a pitch than they are in a fight. Not an actual fight, but like a baseball fight, like comparing a baseball fight to a hit by pitch, especially an intentional hit by pitch, which it basically eliminates all slower pitches, like getting hit by a curveball that just that was
right.
So yeah, I would tend to think that this is one instance where having the possibility of an actual physical confrontation is probably good. I tend to disagree with those who like fighting in hockey and say that it's a deterrent. I don't think it's a deterrent at all in hockey. But in baseball, it kind of seems like it is.
Yeah. Yeah, it might be. I mean, it's hard to know, obviously, because the rules on this I don't think have ever changed. I mean, the suspensions are a little higher than they used to be, I think.
We're more cognizant of it because we're more cognizant of injuries.
Yeah, no, it's and the more money there is involved, the higher the stakes in a sense. So there probably are more. I mean, I'm just thinking, like, hit by pitch injuries, I feel like are way more hit by pitch injuries on unintentional, because the big injury that you get on hit by pitches is when you accidentally get hit like in the forearm or further up, right? The forearm, the wrist, the hand, you break a finger. And intentional hit by pitches seems like it's fairly rare that you wind up in that area, because what percentage? Like 80% at least of pitchers can hit a guy from in the middle back through thigh range if they want to, and if they miss, they're missing way in, and they're just not getting the hands. It's it's the slider that comes in, or the curve or something like that, or the running fastball that comes in on the hand that looks like a decent pitch, and so the batter doesn't start getting out of the way right away. That I feel like cause more injury. So I wonder if, but on the other hand, you see a pitch like Herrera threw, does Herrera have enough control if he did that 10 more times to not hit a guy in the head once? And, a shot in the head or the face can be, that can be devastating just once. It doesn't take a bunch of them.
And there's so few, I would think, intentional hit by pitches compared to actual hit by pitches.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah. The ratio's got to be like, I don't know,
A lot.
1 out of every 20 at most.
Yeah.
Something like that. Yeah. So it's yeah, maybe it's skewed because yeah, it was funny. Even in the big, I mean, there have been occasional was it like Jason LaRue basically had his career ended in a fight. And
Yeah.
sometimes a guy will come out of a pile with a sprained ankle or something like
Yeah.
that.
Robin Ventura will forever be remembered for getting his ass kicked by a 40-year-old Nolan Ryan.
Yeah, but
These are
did he
never
actually
go
get
away.
hurt, or did he just get his ass kicked?
No, he just got his ass kicked. It wasn't
Yeah,
actually
I don't even think there was any injury. I mean, there may have been an injury, but there was not a baseball injury.
long-term humiliation. That's what I was going for.
What's that?
Long-term humiliation.
Yeah.
20 years plus at this point of Robin Ventura. Hey, remember when that guy got his ass kicked by Nolan Ryan? Anyway, there's been 173 hit by pitches this year. And I don't know how many fights there were. Last year there were 1,696. Oh no, that's wild pitches. Last year there were 1,652 hit by pitches. That seems like a lot.
That does seem like a lot. That's a lot.
Possible?
Wow.
Is that really possible? I'm looking at Fangraphs.
Pitchers are
HPP is hit by
terrible.
pitch, right?
What?
HPP.
Yeah. Unless it means high ballistics.
There were more.
I'm not going to say the word I'm thinking of. High ballistics peanut.
There were as many hit by pitches virtually as wild pitches, and more hit by pitches than intentional walks by a lot, by 700.
Job managers.
Yeah. That's weird. And about 1,000 more hit by pitches than there were bullshits. Why is that here? What is going on with that?
I don't think that stands for bullshit.
Oh.
I mean, there's probably. I mean, given the way baseball players talk, they're probably average, 3 bullshits per game per player.
You would think. I mean, 550 for a whole season seems low. Anyway,
it's very low.
yeah. So in the end, I don't think there's many injuries that come from intentional hit by pitches, and I was thinking, well, maybe MLB should throw the book at Ventura. Give him 50 games, give him 40 games, give him 60 games, whatever, some insane number to tell him to calm the hell down. But I don't know. I don't think this is really bad for baseball. I don't think it's really bad for the Royals. I don't think it's hurting anybody. I mean,
yeah, it probably isn't. I mean,
there's no real.
I mean, the funny thing is, this one didn't start with Ventura hitting anybody. So, there wasn't even,
Right.
like all he did was yell at somebody and Eaton took offense. I mean, that's the other thing. It's like, we're, and I think our rush on the Royals, like Adam Eaton could have just sort of like waved his hand dismissively or flipped Ventura off or something and gone to the dugout. Like, but, he's got just as much macho, like if he does that, then he looks like he's backing down.
Right.
As Ventura, sort of yelling at him, whatever reason he was yelling at him, this sort of the culture would not let Eaton just go to the dugout at that point, and Eaton did not seem to make much serious attempt to buck that culture. So. It's not just on Ventura. It's not even clear to me. I haven't read everything there is to read about this particular fight because I'm a little exhausted of Royals fights. But it isn't clear to me that Ventura was even the first here. Ventura may have been reacting to something that happened earlier in the game. I don't actually know.
Right. Well, I mean, I don't know what else to say about this other than I think the Royals have exhausted all their goodwill from the World Series run.
Yeah, they didn't have much from me in the first place, but
that's That's true. They didn't. But okay. So there we go. Royals. Everybody hates them now. Hey, look at that! Your A's are in the 11th inning.
Huh. Spoiler. No. I'm gonna watch it tomorrow, but I'm almost certainly gonna know what happened.
I'm sorry.
Is it 0-0 still?
It's 2-2.
Oh, okay, so everybody scored a little bit. It was 0-0 later in the game that I was comfortable with. But okay, 2-2, 11 innings. This is gonna be great because I don't have time to watch 14 innings tomorrow and a Saturday game. Maybe just skip this one. This is freaking A's. Plus, I think they've only played. This was their third extra inning game, I think, this year, and they lost the first two. So here come the Astros.
Yeah, can't stop the Astros. I don't know how long we've been yapping for. Do you want to get on to our second topic?
Yeah, no, I think so. I think we've only been doing this like half an hour, so I think we're still okay. So Hosh Hamilton, Josh Hamilton's evil twin, I suppose, was traded today to the Rangers. I mean, traded is kind of a weird thing. It was more like, you want Josh Hamilton? The Rangers said, yeah, and so that's what happened. No player went back. The Rangers are going to be paying, I think, $15 million of Hamilton's remaining salary over 3 years.
Yeah.
What's that?
Yes.
Yeah, and that's like, what is that? That's like less than Jason Vargas money. I think Vargas got like 432. I'm not even sure who is making like 315.
$5 million a year. I mean, they're paying him at this, at a free agent value or whatever. That's less than a win a year.
Yeah, I think that's the thing. Is no free agent would get $5 million a year for 3 years. That's crazy. Like, if you're a $5 million player, you're getting 1 or 2 year deals, or 1 plus an option. You're not getting 3 year deals, unless you're like, in that. Every once in a while, a bunch of general managers decide they're going to give setup men 3 years and anywhere from $4 to $7 million a year. So they're paying him to be a setup man. And obviously he was an MVP not that long ago. He still, the number, he's the number 1 overall pick all those years ago for a reason. He is kind of, he's like the second coming of Mickey Mantle physically. And so, $15 million over 3 years in the context of today's baseball doesn't seem like all that much to risk on the possibility that he might recover some of that. And he doesn't have to recover all of it. He just has to be like a useful player for the Rangers to be getting their money's worth here.
It's funny because Hamilton gets a lot of bad press for not playing well for the Angels. But if you look at his numbers, I mean, he clearly dropped off from his time in Texas, a lot. Especially his batting average fell a lot, and that brought his on base percentage down too. But he is still an above average player by OPS. So if you put any stock in OPS plus, I mean, he's his first year in LA, he had a 108 OPS plus, 8% above average. His second year is a little bit better, 114. He still got power. He had 21 homers in the full season in his first year in LA. Played only about half a season, a little over half a season. He had 10 home runs last year. So I don't know. I mean, I guess there's 2 ways to look at it. One is he's probably worth $5 million. I mean, he's getting paid a whole lot more, but that doesn't matter to the Rangers. They're paying him $5 a year, and he's probably worth that. I mean, if he's playing some left field, if he's playing some DH, he's probably worth that. So that's one thing. And I guess the other thought is maybe there's a way that he recaptures some of his, offensive brilliance by returning to the Rangers. normally I wouldn't put any stock in something like that other than some park effects, which will certainly I think make his numbers look a little better. Um, but it, with his sort of peculiar situation, with his substance abuse issues and stuff, and he clearly was comfortable, down in Texas, and a comfort level was, much less in Anaheim. It certainly, I don't know. It seems that way. I'm kind of talking out of my ass. Maybe that's completely wrong.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't know. I'm not in the dugout or the clubhouse, so maybe I should check my fat face about that. But that's what it seems like.
The Rangers fans on Twitter, and I don't make a point of following dumb people and unreasonable people. Like I try to follow the reasonable people. Even though Hamilton was fifth in the MVP in 2012 and got votes in 2011, they said that people are talking about kind of like you're seeing the beginning of a decline in those years. He turned 30, and he was still a very good player, well above average player, excellent player, but nothing close to the absurd 2010. And then the sort of famous, well, I don't know, famous for some people. The final game of the year against the A's in 2012, where he just biffed these balls in center field. And people talk about sort of taking himself out of games and kind of nagging injuries that maybe wouldn't stop other players. And it's hard because how can you judge somebody else's injury? You don't know what they're feeling. You don't know what their pain level is. You don't know what their ability to operate with that pain level is, etc. But and then the other thing that everybody brought up today is apparent. I think toward somewhere around the end of his Rangers career, or maybe after he already left for the Angels, said something to the effect of Dallas or Arlington or whatever, that whole area not being a baseball town.
Yeah, right.
Which is it might kind of be true. I mean, it's Texas. It'll for the foreseeable future be a football state.
Yeah.
But it's just rude. It's a little mean, like, why do you say it? Like, you hold your tongue, I guess. You didn't need to say that. So, it's,
well, the funny thing about that is I think there probably are more, more fans of football, and, high school football is huge there, and the Cowboys, of course, and college football, et cetera, et cetera. But there are a lot of diehard Rangers fans who, see themselves and their friends as, the most fervent among the bunch. Whether they are or not, I don't know, but I can relate to that kind of feeling. So yeah, it's definitely a sort of a hurtful, maybe unintentionally so. I don't know, but it sounds like it could be hurtful to Rangers fans to hear something like that. But my guess is if he comes back and hits some home runs and is a productive part of the team, they'll forget about it, and he'll probably say that it was a mistake and he was wrong about it, and he regrets saying it, and he loves Texas and all that sort of stuff. Or he'll just be horrible and injured all the time, and whatever, that's the Rangers right now anyway. So he'll fit right in.
Right. Yeah, he'll if he gives in to peer pressure, he'll be on the disabled list, or he'll be back on the disabled list in July or August. He will fit right in. That is exactly. But yeah, it's also, I mean, you look at their roster, and left field is Jake Smolinski, and DH is Carlos Peguero. Right field. What's that?
They have room for them, absolutely. I mean,
right field is Chu, and center field is Martin. And even first base, to the extent that you wanted to have him try out first base, is Prince Fielder, and they're not going anywhere. And also Mitch Moreland on the bench, and that's that's also not what's the word, fully representative because Ryan Rua is on the disabled list, and he is probably a better outfielder. He's probably, he was on the team, before he got hurt. So, kind of push everybody down a notch. But I mean, the Rangers are carrying a Rule 5 pick. And so, if you can afford to carry a Rule 5 pick, then your depth is not so much that you're squeezing people out and whatever. It's not to say that you're a bad team. The A's are carrying a Rule 5 pick, and a lot of good teams carry Rule 5 picks every once in a while too. But there's
room for Josh.
Yeah, you can see why they would take this chance. And frankly, at that level of commitment, they could release him, and it would suck to pay $15 for absolutely nothing. But lots of teams are paying more than that for absolutely nothing. I mean, the Giants paid Barry Zito for practically nothing. Worse than nothing a lot of times, for years. So, it's hard to criticize this from the Rangers' perspective, except to the extent that, I don't know, the fans matter, and the fans are not real happy about it. Like, those are the people who pay your salary. So I don't know. But at the same time, it's also hard because there's altogether too many jokes about drug abuse, and is he going to hit 40 homers, or is he going to hit 40 crack pipes? And it's like, A, that's not even funny, and B, he's an addict. Like, he didn't choose to become an addict. Nobody would. I know there's a strain of asshole thought out there that says that people do choose to become addicts, but they're wrong. And I think we can say that. And so, even if there's going to be a portion of the fan base that's just sort of like, fuck that guy and his drugs or whatever,
right,
who can't leave it alone, basically, and try to accept him as a human being and hope the best for him. So, maybe I don't care about the fans after all.
Yeah, it's sort of unfortunate, on a number of levels, how the Angels have handled this.
Yeah, well, Artie Moreno can burn in hell as far as I'm concerned with this. He let us down. He blah blah blah. It's not fucking about you. If he had a relapse, that's about him.
Yeah.
That is about him and his family and the people who love him. You do not love him. He does not love you. He works for you.
Right.
Yes, he was not able to, I don't know, do his off-season work. He was going to be on the disabled list anyway. He was not but even if he missed games because of this, he was not able to do his job. Because no, you don't get to complain about that. You don't get to try to get out of a guaranteed contract. You don't get to, it is just it's sociopathic, and again, it's Josh Hamilton is a human being, and Artie Moreno's treating him like a piece of meat that makes a lot of money for him.
Correct. Yeah.
So,
yeah, I think about the best thing Hamilton can do is go to Texas and turn the page to whatever extent he can, and play well for the Rangers and let the Rangers beat the Angels. And watch the Angels pay him every day to do that.
Right. I always wonder, does he continue getting a paycheck that says Anaheim Angels on it, or do the Angels just transfer that money to the Rangers?
Yeah, I don't know. That'd be interesting. It'd be pretty funny if he, if it had to say, Anaheim Angels of Anaheim, whatever, and then the team address, and Artie Moreno had to sign the check every 2 weeks.
There's got to be tax implications too, and it was payroll tax. Do the Angels have to pay payroll taxes on Josh Hamilton's salary?
I'm sure they have to pay whatever taxes they would normally have to pay, regardless. They're paying a salary. So whatever percentage of the
I mean,
salary.
they're not paying a salary if they're not paying a salary, right? If they're just giving the Rangers $40 million over 3 years, then they're not paying a salary. They're just paying the Rangers.
Oh, I see what you mean. Depending on how they structure it. So
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, one of the interesting things that I heard about, and this is changing the subject a little because I don't have an answer to that, is that Hamilton somehow took less money to make this work. It says that Bob Nightingale, this is reading from Bill Bayer's Hardball Talk piece on this. Bob Nightingale of USA Today reports that Hamilton is giving up some money to make the trade work. The lack of state taxes in Texas makes this happen. Nightingale adds that the Angels would be on the hook for about $68 million. I'm not exactly sure how that works, but it's definitely odd in the sense that I remember Alex Rodriguez was all but traded to the Red Sox in 2003. And the union held up that deal and eventually nixed it for that very reason, because Alex Rodriguez, as part of the deal, had agreed to, I don't know, lessen the financial burden of his contract in exchange for some other things. And the union decided that it wasn't a fair trade that A-Rod had agreed to, and so they said the trade was structured was null. Yeah, so I don't know what makes this work. Do you know anything about this?
No. Yeah, and I'm pretty surprised. I mean,
sorry, what?
Somebody asked Bob Nightingale, will the players union bless off on that deal? So people are just like out here making up phrases. Bless off.
That's different than blow off, I assume.
Make the trade work. Yeah, that's weird. I don't know. I mean, it's entirely possible that Nightingale's just wrong. I don't know what that's about. That's weird. Unless there was some kind of something in the Angels contract that like a portion of the salary was kind of designated as like because you're moving to California, so your taxes are higher. So he's kind of giving that up, like that does no longer applies. I don't know. Yeah, because you're right. I mean, the A-Rod thing is exactly what comes to mind, and it's absolutely the thing that Players Association was, from the perspective of building of not letting precedent get set of if you want to get traded or if you want to get traded, you're going to have to take a pay cut. Like you start letting that happen, and then there's pay cuts left and right. And it undermines the entire concept of the guaranteed contract. And just look what happens in football. There's barely any such thing as the guaranteed contract anymore. It's like, oh, X signs for $200 million. It's like $40 million is guaranteed. Anyway, so yeah, it would be weird if he were actually had actually agreed. On the other hand, if there's one situation where the Players Association could be relatively confident that nobody else is ever going to be comparable, it might be Josh Hamilton, given Artie Moreno's bullshit. And Hamilton might be they might say, Hamilton might go to them and say, look, please don't fight this. Like, I have to get out of Anaheim. I can't, this is ridiculous. They're not going to let me play, and et cetera. And so they might say, okay. On the other hand, now you're rewarding Artie Moreno for bad behavior. All you have to do is make the situation miserable for the player, and then the player will then agree to take a pay cut and be traded. So you can't let them do that, because owners, I'm sure all 30 owners would find it quite easy to make their players miserable. The A's owners have been doing it for years, for decades, maybe.
I don't even know what to say.
Is that mean to the A's owners? Am I being mean?
No, I don't know. You're right as a fan to say stuff like that. I think if you can't complain about the owners, I don't know. There's few teams I think that have no legitimate beef, about ownership. I'm actually one of them. I have no complaints about the Red Sox ownership, but I think that's a rare boat to be in.
I mean, except that there's always just the general notion that all billionaires are inherently bad.
Well, there's that, absolutely, yeah, and I subscribe to that. So there is that.
Yeah, and on the specifics, Red Sox ownership seems to have done a very, reasonable job.
Yeah, they're trying to win. You may not agree with how they do it, but they're trying to win all the time. They're not afraid to spend money to do it. So, yeah, I think it's terrific. But anyway, we've talked about that before. I'll be very interested to see, even more so than I would have been before, probably a lot more than I would have been before, to see how Hamilton does now, coming back with the Rangers and being back in a, more familiar setting. And I don't know. I don't know if this really improves the Rangers' chances of winning the West. I mean, it doesn't. I'll just say that it doesn't. But,
you're actually on balance. You're probably right that it doesn't, and not just because they already had almost no chance.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I think best case they're adding 2 wins with this deal. Best case. And
yeah, that's probably right. Yeah, because he's not even going to be back for still another month. I think at least. I don't remember when he's due back.
Yeah, it's not immediate, and he's at this point in his career, a negative defensive player probably, so he's got to out-hit his defense by a fair bit. And like you said, the Rangers, they have a spot for him, but there's other players they're trying to play also. He's injury prone. He's not going to play every day. So yeah, I think two wins is probably best case scenario, and
and that's not enough when Ross Detweiler is your number 2 starter, and you just signed Wandy Rodriguez and
started him. Tonight.
Yeah. That's not a good set of. Their disabled list is insane. It's insane. They've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 players on the 60-day disabled list.
Wow. Yeah,
and 3 more on the 15.
Is Hamilton on the 60-day?
Yeah, I think Hamilton is, and so that doesn't count Hamilton because the trade's not actually official yet. I think.
Yeah.
I don't know if Hamilton's on the 60. It makes sense because he's certainly going to miss long enough time. But if it depends on whether the Angels needed the 40-man spot. Because you're not even allowed to put somebody on the 60-day unless you're going to replace them or whatever. Oh no, he's on the 15 actually.
Oh, okay.
So that'll be. That means the Rangers are actually going to have to clear space for him. They're going to have to designate someone for assignment. So that's the cost. That's not the money. It's not a normal trade of a player. They're going to have to designate someone for assignment. What a terrific loss this is going to be of
Adrian Beltre.
Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and guess it's not Adrian Beltre. Who's going to get waived? Okay. Alex Hassan. I'm going Alex Hassan.
Everybody loves to waive Alex Hassan.
Yeah. He's already 4 or 5 times in the last 6 months, I think.
Yeah. He spent all offseason getting bounced around from the Orioles to the Red Sox and blah 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 blah.
Yeah, and he didn't make the A's, and so he off to the Rangers, which is where every XA goes. Weird.
Do you have anything else to say about Josh Hamilton?
No, well, I guess the one other question is would you describe your interest as kind of neutral interest, or would you say you're rooting for him? And I'm not gonna. Yeah, I'll just say that.
I think it's right on the line in between those two. I think I have sympathy for him because of what he's gone through. Even though I've never gone through anything like it. I feel badly that someone would have to go through something like that. I have enough trouble just not drinking coffee in the morning, so anything beyond that is way over my head. But yeah, so I feel sympathy for him, and I hope that he's able to get his life back under control to whatever extent he can. And it seems like this could be a good thing for him. So, I whether he has success on the field, I don't know what the correlation between success on the field and having a life that doesn't include addiction to whatever extent he can have such a life. So I don't know how those are related. If they are related, then absolutely I hope he has success on the field too, because I'm sure the rest of it is extra shitty otherwise. But yeah, so I guess that's a long rambling way of saying I'm rooting for the guy at least off the field, if not on.
Yeah, rooting for the human, and to the extent that the player, right, to the extent that being the player affects being the human. Yeah, I think I'd probably come down in just that same spot, more or less. I mean, it's also it's easier to root for the player now on a team that isn't likely to be a threat to the A's AL West hegemony. That doesn't exist anymore, sadly. But I kind of want him. I want him to have like some crazy like 4-win second half, just so that the Angels lost that.
That would be kind of cool, actually. When you actually go out and say that, I kind of went, oh, hey, yeah, that would be cool. So I guess I am rooting for him in that sense. That would be neat if he started really, really crushing the ball. As long as it doesn't come against the Red Sox, I'll be quite happy. Are you?
Yeah, I mean, I guess I'm more like rooting against Artie Moreno than I am for Josh Hamilton.
That's fair. Are you? This is terrible podcasting etiquette. I apologize, but are you still following the A's game at all?
No.
Okay.
I have not followed it at all. Period. Tonight.
Okay, it's pretty insane, but I'll shut up. Go ahead. There was there your third secret topic that you wanted to that you wouldn't tell me before, or should we?
We've gone an hour, so I feel like I might save that.
Save it.
I think I'm also going to save it because I'd probably stumble for about 45 seconds trying to remember it, because right now I'm not actually sure I remember it.
Okay.
It was about your feelings, FYI. Everybody, for the listeners, who didn't hear the pre-show the pre-show planning. I was going to ask Matt about his feelings, and I can't actually remember what I was going to ask feelings about. So we'll save it, and really, I'll probably never ask it, but you'll never know that I didn't ask it.
That's true.
Because I may ask something else entirely.
All right. Well, Jason, this is a fun podcast, and hopefully we get to do it again next week.
Yes, indeed. I think we can sum up tonight's. I think we should do like a your moment of zen or something. But like your moment of zen is yay Josh Hamilton, boo Royals.
Yes, I think that kind of sums up the entire podcast. We can just ask everyone to skip to that point.
TLDR, right? Or TLD, what, L? Too long didn't listen.
Something like
that. Boo, Royals. Boo.
Hey, how is Billy Butler for you guys?
Oh, he is crushing the ball. Absolutely crushing the ball.
Is that true? Are you being sarcastic?
Yeah, no. He's got he had I don't know where his hit streak stands, or if it's broken already, but he hit in at least the first 15 games in a row.
Wow.
And those batted ball stats that we're starting to get access to, like the velocity off the bat. Yep. He was like number 3 in the league in that last I looked. Wow. And it's like visible, like he is just smoking the ball. Now it's sometimes every once in a while, not every once in a while, more than every once in a while, it results in a one hopper to shortstop and like an easy double play, or he'll hit the ball so hard to the outfield that it one hops the wall and he gets a single because he's Billy Butler. But like it's actually a lot of fun to watch him hit. I'm surprised that I am as pleased with this as I am. I thought it was going to be kind of, because he's just a hitter. That's what he does. He's a hitter, and I'm not always the biggest fan of those guys. Like, the A's have run through a bunch of these, mostly older than Butler in recent years. They had the last year of Piazza, and then they had the good last year of Thomas, and then they had Frank Thomas, and then they had the bad last year of Frank Thomas, and they had Hideki Matsui. And I mean, you can go all the way back to John Jaha in like 1999. And I just haven't been a huge fan of those guys, but none of them hit as well as Butler is hitting right now. And plus, he's just more interesting to watch hit. Like, there's something about his swing and something about his approach that I think I'm going to like over his 3-year contract, which he'll be traded midway through year 2 of that contract, but I'll like it through the portion of the contract that he actually plays for the A's.
Yeah, that's exactly what's going to happen. That's horrible. That's certainly true. Whoa, what is going on? I'm attempting. Okay, MLB is telling me. I swear to God, this is true. I'm going to even screenshot it for you just so I can prove it later. MLB is giving me 2 different scores for the Oakland game right now, and I won't tell you what they are, but one is distinctly incorrect.
Well, I guess if there's 2 different, maybe both are incorrect. At least one is.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. You don't know. You don't know. They could be lying to you both times. No, it's funny because Billy Butler kind of reminds me of like Sean Casey. Butler has more power than Casey ever did, but not so much recently. Like just a big, strong guy who hits the ball on the ground too much and doesn't have much in the way of defense and that kind of thing.
And they've both been elected to higher office.
Billy Butler's been elected to higher office?
No.
All right, close this podcast down right now. We're done.
We're done. That's it. Cut.
Done. Bye.